I'll just call the case and everything. All right, we're back on the record on case number 2210869DM. We just spoke briefly off the record. We're going to start back up with Ms. Nucala on cross-exam with Ms. Belden. Ms. Nucala, just because you haven't testified yet today, I'll ask that you just raise your right hand. You're still under oath, but do you swear from the testimony you're about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Belden.
Okay, thanks. Okay, part two. Here we go. So Aishwarya, can I ask you some questions about the decision to move to California? You and Andrew reached that decision together, correct?
I would say that I capitulated to his desire to live in California.
But you agreed.
I did agree.
Okay. And you felt that was in your children's best interest at that time, correct?
I felt that it was in our children's best interests to finalize the divorce so that they weren't being subjected to the fighting and anger that was a big part of their life in our family.
Okay.
Moving to California and giving Andrew what he wanted was a way for me to be released from his anger. Because when I don't give him what he wants, he screams, he yells, he makes absurd demands. And it was a long-term pattern in our marriage. For example, after miscarrying on a bathroom floor, it is not reasonable for him to demand that I go to a soccer field and apply sunscreen to young children. And yet I did that to avoid his anger, which was a constant latent force in our marriage. So the decision to move to California was very much about wanting to give him what he wanted after a year of grinding divorce negotiations where he would not agree to anything else. And I felt that it was in the children's best interests to capitulate to Andrew so that we could all move on. And I did my very, very best to try and execute the agreement that we had together, signed in June. And then there was a change of circumstances when the children were with him in the fall. And I'd be happy to talk about that. And
okay, just a minute. We'll get there.
Okay.
You would agree that the change of circumstances happened when you left Pasadena after being there for a day. That wasn't the plan, that you weren't going to be around, correct?
I don't think that my absence gives Andrew the right to neglect our children and subject our 4-year-old to his explosive, ugly, and abusive anger, which happened repeatedly.
Okay, but it was a yes or no question.
Okay. Sorry. Can you repeat it?
Yeah. You would agree that you not executing the plan and staying in Pasadena would be a change of circumstance. You caused that change of circumstance, correct?
I did reside. I was in Pasadena and we had agreed dates. He put my name on the lease as a way to help me manage the transition because he knew that I couldn't afford my own place immediately. And so even though that was not in the consent judgment of divorce, my name is on his lease there that he put on his lease when he signed it in July before I arrived in order to help facilitate housing for me so that I could at least be present for the children. And his anger made it impossible for us to execute, for me to be able to stay in that house, which made the agreement, it made it very urgent for me to find housing and launch my business there. And I wasn't able to do that immediately. And while I was trying to do that,
I'm gonna stop you for a second because that's going past what my question was. I will ask, you read to us the custody and parenting time schedule that was in that consent judgment of divorce that you signed on June 17th, yesterday. You would acknowledge to me that in that agreement, it says both of you to have your own housing in Pasadena, correct? It doesn't say we're going to live together in Pasadena. Or
That is correct.
Okay,
And
okay, that's it. That was my question. So now I'm gonna move you, I'm gonna share screen. Back to, I think you're going to recognize this from yesterday. But from yesterday, you will see this letter that we talked about. It's on page, it starts on page 3 of Exhibit D, Part 1. And it says, it's Sunday, April 10th, 2022. You acknowledge that that's Andrew's email and that's your email address that it was sent to. And then let's get back to the body of this email. And so again, it's dated Sunday, April 10th. And you know,
Megan, could you tell me what page it is on your email, on your exhibit?
page 3. Page 3 of Exhibit D, Part 1.
D part.
It starts on page 3.
that first paragraph, I think, helps illustrate some of
Okay,
the.
but I'm not
I'm there.
talking about that right now. I'm gonna pull you
sorry.
down to, because I just want to stay on topic with the move to Pasadena.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so here you'll see, here are my positions on each of those items. Paragraph 2, Andrew states, I would like to move. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Paragraph 3, you start, there's our children's education.
Mhm.
And then we get to, I'm keeping going, I'm sorry. So on April 10th, where it says what I am going to do, do you see this? It says, I am going to Birmingham tomorrow. And then he says, I'm going to spend time in the city to get a better feel for it. I'm going to tour both the public high schools and see rental homes. And
Okay,
he said, my goal is to have a better sense of whether I would like to seriously consider a move to Birmingham.
right.
And he says, you wouldn't have to agree to this scenario, but I just wanted to let you know.
Yeah, and right here it says, if he doesn't feel comfortable to the move to Birmingham, we will continue on with the plan we currently have, which included Josephine attending Cranbrook, Leo and Bertie going to school here in Leland at the Children's Center and public school in Leland.
Okay.
And he says, I'll find a place to live and work here.
And
And
he did get a lease. He did get a lease, right? He did execute a lease to effectuate that.
he
plan.
never sent it to them. He just went to see it and they offered him a lease, but it was never executed as far as I know. And he never moved out of the house.
Okay, you don't remember him signing it and asking you to mail it for him and you texted back, yep, I'll do that?
I do not.
Okay,
And
I'll have to find that text. Okay, so now let's go down here.
he never moved into that lease though, even if he signed it and I mailed it, he never actually moved into the house.
Okay, well, let's look here where it says where to live. Can you read that to the court?
If there are other places you are interested in living, for example, New York, you can research them, housing prices, schools, etc., and suggest them to me.
Okay, does that sound like he's demanding a move to Pasadena?
In this email, Andrew is not demanding a move to Pasadena, but I would be happy to talk about.
Okay, and we can get there. We can get there. Let's just keep going. Here he has it says a few other things and it says regarding Los Angeles.
Yes.
Can you read that?
I understand that the idea of a move to Los Angeles is overwhelming to you. It is to me too, but after our trip there last week, I was and am struck by a fact. Los Angeles is home to our family. It feels like home. It is where you and I created a family, where our children grew up and were educated, where you and I both went to school and started our careers. In terms of moving there, the combination of housing and private school is extreme, but I'm willing to pay a premium to return home. Having said all that, I would only advocate a move there in the near future if I have concrete paying work that takes me there and potentially graduate school. In any case, I consider my professional life to be in Los Angeles, and I will maintain those connections. And if we stay in Michigan, would likely move there when Josephine and Leo graduate high school.
Okay, so again, that doesn't sound like he's pushing the move to Pasadena for your family, correct?
I don't read it that way. I would say that this is part of his constant bringing up something that he knew was overwhelming to me. And it was
Okay.
a constant conversation that he always brought up, even though he says that, even though he understands that it's overwhelming to me, because it was. And I do say in that same section there that I just read, you know, he says he acknowledges the cost of it's are extreme, and that, you know, it's like overwhelming. And it didn't, like, that conversation just would not go away. And I engaged in it because at times when I said I didn't want to do it, like, for example, we did it in a private meeting, collaborative session. Actually, I don't think that was the time. There was a different time. And it was like, you know, he just was so angry and resentful about having to live in Michigan. And he really lamented the move here, and, you know, felt, he said to me repeatedly, it was the worst decision of his life. And I felt bad about that, you know, like that was like a thing that I felt really guilty about, because I also was divorcing him and he did not want to get a divorce. And as recently as September of 2022, when I was visiting, he asked if we could reconcile. And I said no. You know, and so I really did feel guilty about seeking a divorce. I knew it was going to be hard for our family and for our children. And ultimately, I just, like, I capitulated because he wouldn't stop talking about it. And it was a complex thing, you know, and I also just felt really guilty. Like, I didn't want to hold him here, because he said to me repeatedly that he didn't want to be in an area where he was going to have to see me dating other people. Or I think he said it was here. He was like, I cannot live here and watch you date other people. I want to meet somebody else. The people here are not attractive to me. My work is not here, and I don't want to live here.
Okay,
You know?
well, okay, let's move on. I'm just gonna pull up another exhibit that I wanted to go over here. Okay. Back to. Okay, I'm now directing you to Exhibit D, Part 1, page 21 it starts on. Do you recognize this email, Ishwari? It's from Andrew, dated April 22nd, 2022.
I don't remember this email, but it is from him, his email address to me, so I can verify that.
Okay, it starts off with, hi, I've refrained from sending an email like this during the 8+ month we've been going through this. but I am feeling at a complete loss of how to resolve much of anything with you. So tonight I'm going to send one. I don't know what more I can do. For the past 8 months, I've been kind, patient, understanding, and respectful. I go to therapy twice a week. If you need anything, I've tried to grant it.
He also says, I have worked on my anger and managed it.
Yep. And then I'm going to keep going, but I think it's important that I guess I'm going to ask that this page of Exhibit D Part 1, it goes into, yeah, I guess just this page 21 be admitted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's pleadingly saying, if not Los Angeles.
Sorry, 1 second. Sorry. Any objection, Ms. Whitman?
No objection, Your Honor.
Or-
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to get to. Can you read starting with, you don't want to move somewhere new with me, I understand. Can you read that paragraph and the next paragraph?
You don't want to move somewhere new with me, I understand. Then why don't we find a way to live in Los Angeles for at least part of the year? The city where we lived as a family for 9 years, the place where we formed our family, raised our children, and built our careers. The place where we each agree we spent the happiest years of our life. The place that is home to our children, the place where we all were 3 weeks ago, and everyone, including you, felt happy. If not Los Angeles, can't we just figure something out together? Something that doesn't involve sending our daughter to a boarding school 4 hours away in a city, it sounds like, based on our conversation at the Riverside Inn last Friday, we don't want to live. A school that we can't afford, that we all know almost no one who went to during what is going to be the most difficult time for our family's life.
And can you read that next?
Can't we at the very least finalize our divorce, agree for me to move out, you to move in to the house and work on the house, lower the conflict, let the dust settle, and take some time to figure out what's next. So I want to, I'd love to talk about.
Yeah, well, just a minute. So does this look like he's putting pressure on you to move to Los Angeles?
He would not, this was a relentless conversation that you're illustrating for us.
Okay, but it was a yes or no question, Aishwarya. Is he saying, I insist that we're moving to Los Angeles?
To me, yes, because of our dynamic,
Okay,
including his mention of his anger at the top of the email. And he also writes in here, why don't we find a way to live in Los Angeles for at least part of the year? Which means, in conjunction with putting my name on his lease, that he felt that the only way to manage this move was if we figured it out together, because of the cost of living was exorbitantly high, which is what I read in the previous email, which he understands.
Okay. Could it be possible that he was saying you need to figure it out together because you have 3 children that you have to co-parent? Could that be possible?
Absolutely. Yes. He was like, this is for a family reason, so I'm putting you on my lease because you can't afford to move right away, and you can use my house so you can see our children, and we're going to try and do this. And it was a relentless conversation that you can get. This is it. That first email was April 10th. This is the 22nd. He knows that this is hard to do, that it's really like, yeah, we had good times there as a family, but it's like really expensive, and we have to work together to make it happen because of the cost of living.
Okay, let me get to the next.
While you're looking for that, though, I will say Ms. Hughes just popped in. I don't know if it's better to take care of that or switch to another exhibit.
Do you mind if we just finish this thought?
No, she wasn't on till 2, so we've got at least 8 minutes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I'm gonna share this screen now. Okay, this is Exhibit D Part 1, pages 23 and 24. Aishwarya, do you recognize this email from Andrew to you? Is that Andrew's email address?
Yes, sorry, yes,
Okay, and that's your email address?
yes, this is, I don't remember this email, but that is clearly a communication between us.
Okay. And do you see it says alternatives to Leland for Josephine?
Yes,
Okay, and then the top says these are just some ideas. So you're seeing what I'm seeing, correct?
yes.
And let me go to page 24. So you see it's more dialogue between you and Andrew. Does this jog your memory?
I mean, there's so many communications.
Okay.
I'd have to read them, but I can agree that we sent all these things to each other. I don't specifically.
Okay, so I would ask that pages 23 and 24 of Exhibit D, Part 1 be entered.
No objection.
Admitted.
Okay, so it looks like Andrew's saying here are some options. And then he puts these are just some ideas. And then you replied with, can you rate them in terms of your interest? So Cranbrook boarding school in LA, Traverse City School, somewhere downstate, or we just spend more time midweek in Traverse City to get the kids into activities. You say, can you rate those interests? Is Pasadena in here?
LA is in there.
But it says boarding school, correct? So that would be, Josephine would be in boarding school there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that LA was constantly brought up, and
Okay. But at this point, he does
Pasadena is
put-
not referenced in here, but it is a constant.
Okay, but I'm just talking about this right now, Aishwarya. So it says,
Sorry, yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry, in parentheses, beside boarding school in LA, it says probably cost prohibitive. We'd have to fly there, etc.
Yeah,
So
he
that to me
recognizes it's
suggests
cost
that-
prohibitive to fly to LA regularly to see our daughter.
Yeah, okay, so he was not thinking you guys were moving there, and he was asking you your thoughts, correct? And so then you asked him to rate him, and it looks like he rated him.
Okay,
His rating, number 1 says an office / more time in TC. Number 2 is high school in TC. Number 3 is Cranbrook. Number 4 is renting an apartment downstate for in terms of ease.
okay,
In terms of preference, he said, number 1, renting an apartment downstate. Number 2, an office or more time in TC. Number 3, high school in TC. And number 4, Cranbrook.
okay.
So
And at
Pasadena.
the end, he says at the very next page, he says.
Yeah, but right here, in terms of his priorities, he's not raising Pasadena, correct?
Pasadena's in this
Okay,
email,
yeah,
if you-
We'll get to that in 1 second, but here of the options he said
Okay, yeah,
Pasadena.
sure.
Now down here, he does have a last sentence says the other alternative, which I don't really want to bring up, but I am now, is Pasadena.
Correct.
He brought that up as one other option, but it wasn't in his ratings, correct?
It was relentlessly brought up again and again and again, including.
Okay, and what did you respond with, Aishwarya?
Are you saying that you'd be open to moving to Pasadena for her freshman years with her and we'd figure out going back and forth, LaSalle? And he said, yes, something like that, or even Pasadena High School, which could be a stepping stone to private school there. Again, I'm just throwing out ideas, but the reality of flying back and forth to Los Angeles, ... that's a lot.
Okay,
So
and then
he
you brought up,
acknowledges that
and then you brought up Cranbrook again, right?
yes, because it was an excellent option for her and kept everybody settled in their places, and Andrew could have moved to LA if he wanted.
Okay, but at that time, did it sound, the clear writing of this document, he's not saying I'm set on Pasadena, correct? Just that question, though, I know you have a thought on in your interpretation of it.
Can I
but
say something? I would.
I'm sorry, Miss.
Andrew.
I'm sorry. Your attorney's gonna be able to
Okay,
ask
can you
follow-up
repeat the
questions.
question so I can refocus my
Yeah.
brain?
So in this document, Andrew is not saying, he gives you the top 4. Pasadena's not even in there, correct?
But it's in the email. Like, I mean, this is.
But he doesn't even rank it in his top 4, correct, Aishwarya?
It is in the email. It's not in the top 4.
But my question is, he does not rank it in his top 4.
Correct.
The choices he would want, correct?
Not here, no.
Not here, no. And he's asking for your input, correct?
He is, and I just want to note the date is April 26th.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
it is like grindingly exhausting at this point to try. We are still trying to figure this out.
Okay, and you can testify to that. You'll get your chance, Aishwarya, to talk about that more. I just want to stay on track, but it looks like now it is 2:00.
Okay.
So do we want to stop here, Your Honor?
If you don't mind, we just want to get her on and
Yep,
off.
no problem.
On the clock.
No problem.
Thank you.
I'm gonna stop your shared screen then.
Oh, thank you.
Ms. Whitman, just so the record's clear, your next witness, please.
Janet Hughes.
Ms. Hughes, can you hear me? You're on mute. See if I can do this prompt. There. Good afternoon, Ms. Hughes.
Good afternoon.
My name is Matt Hagan. I'm the referee in this matter. You've been called as a witness by Ms. Whitman and her client. She will have some questions for you. And then if she chooses to, Ms. Belden may have some questions, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. If you'd raise your right hand, please. You swear from the testimony you're about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, Ms. Whitman.
Ma'am, could you state your full name for the record?
Janet Hughes.
And what do you do for a living, ma'am?
I'm a mental health therapist at Lakeview Counseling.
And is that in Traverse City?
Yes.
And what's your educational background?
I have a master's in social work.
How long have you worked as a counselor?
Over 30 years.
Are you licensed?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Are you licensed in the state of
Mhm.
Michigan?
Yeah, I'm fully licensed. I have as high of a credentials as you can get in my field.
And how long have you practiced at Lakeview?
Probably 9 years.
What is the nature of your practice?
Private practice.
Do you treat adults, children? What is your typical client?
Adults.
Do you have any specific focuses in your practice that you like to consider yourself? Do you have any focuses or expertise within the area of social work? I guess is a good way to put it.
I think just by nature of most people who walk by the door that the highest percentage of people come in are anxiety, depression, and I work a lot with people doing different transitions in life.
I request respectfully that Ms. Hughes be qualified as an expert in adult counseling and social work.
No objection.
So certified.
Ms. Hughes, are you familiar with Aishwarya Nukala?
Yes.
And how are you familiar with her?
She sought counseling at Lakeview and I saw her for a year.
And when was that, ma'am?
December 20th through December 21st or 2021. December of the year 20 and for a year after that through December.
Okay. So from a year from December of 2020 to December of 2021, is that correct? Okay.
Yeah.
And what was the nature of your therapy with Ms. Nukala?
She was experiencing conflict in her relationship and just seeking out some strategies.
What relationship was that, Ms. Hughes?
Intermarital relationship.
And what were her goals in therapy to address the conflict within that relationship?
She was hoping for some strategies in reducing stress and discord.
And what kind of strategies was she seeking, or what problems was she trying to solve?
Just some anger in the relationship, and things just seemed to be where they were just having more disputes. And so we just talked about techniques of good communication and emotional identification to see where your feelings are coming from and how to express those with a partner.
Did you diagnose her with anything?
Yes,
Oh, I'm
was-
sorry.
she was diagnosed as adjustment disorder, which it would be pretty typical for somebody who's had some change in life that's causing them some conflict and increased anxiety.
Did the issue of her husband's anger come up in counseling?
At that point, when she was coming in, I think they were having some discord. I don't know if she really came in based on that he had a out of control anger problem, but more that discussions were getting more difficult to resolve and probably more heated with any couple who's not getting along.
What was her goal in therapy?
I think she was trying to sort out if things could get better between them, and any strategies that would help get there, and just trying to identify why things were getting that there was an increased discord in their marriage.
Do you believe that she was honest with you?
I don't have any reason to believe otherwise.
Did she work sincerely and toward developing these strategies under your care?
Yes, I think she was, reporting back at trying some of the techniques with communication and talking that we talked about. It seemed like she was involved in going ahead and trying the strategies.
Did you make any recommendations to her about how to go ahead and address her issues, the anxiety and depression and the conflict?
We talked about increased care and exercise, using iMessages, techniques to not let an argument get elevated, how to keep things more calm.
You sent a letter to opposing counsel, which indicated that Ms. Nukala, or your part of her diagnosis, was an anxiety diagnosis. Was that accurate?
Was anxiety? It would be adjustment disorder with anxiety.
Okay, yeah, you would know. I'll pull it up for a minute.
Hmm.
Hold on, I don't want to speak out of turn. Do you recognize this letter that you sent to Ms. Belden?
Yes,
It's dated March 20th, 2023.
yes,
And you wrote that she was addressing stress and anxiety due to discord in her marriage, which supports an adjustment disorder diagnosis.
yes,
Is that an accurate statement of your treatment of her?
yes,
And you then stated that she was cooperative and responded well to supportive therapy. Interventions included.
I would prefer that we not read documents into the record until they're admitted.
Sorry, I move for this to be entered as exhibit. I think we're on 57 when we're labeling things.
Yeah, no objection.
Thank you. It's admitted. Thank you.
Ms. Hughes, do you agree with what you wrote in this letter to Ms. Belden?
yes,
Is it accurate?
yes.
What is CBT?
It's a cognitive behavioral therapy of anybody has, it's a technique with anxiety and depression that sometimes we're looking at things in a negative way, and it's trying to teach you a healthier way to look at our thoughts.
And what was the reason, as you understood it, for Aishwarya's anxiety and depression? Do you know the source of them?
I think feeling that all of a sudden re-looking at her relationship as, are we a good fit together, and why is there more discord, and we have some things we don't agree on, and are we going to be able to work those out? That would create anxiety for anybody.
Did you diagnose her with a personality disorder of any kind?
No.
I have no further questions for this witness.
Okay,
you, Ms. Belden.
yeah, thanks. So thank you, Ms. Hughes. I did receive that, the letter that's been admitted as an exhibit. In there, there's no acknowledgement of anger. Anger wasn't anger by Andrew Llewellyn. That wasn't a big focus of your counseling, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Did Aishwarya let you know her mental health history as part of your intake?
I knew of some past counseling. I might not know details about her history.
Okay. Did she let you know that she had been hospitalized on 2 occasions, inpatient at mental health units?
No.
Okay. So it would be news to you that she was admitted to UCLA for over a week for mental health assessments.
No, I don't know. I did not know that.
Okay. After she had presented to the emergency room suicidal.
I'm going to object. She already said she didn't know.
Okay.
I mean, it's a different question, but if you concede, I don't.
Yeah, no, go. I'm trying to think of another way to ask it here. So you did not know of previous diagnoses for anxiety and major depression?
You're saying those are what her previous diagnoses were? No, I did not.
I'm asking, were you aware of any previous diagnoses?
No.
Did you know she had been treated for years for these conditions?
I knew of some past counseling. I don't know if I could recall time length right now on those.
Do you think it would have been important for Aishwarya to share that history with you?
I think it would be good to know. I'm not sure it would change the diagnosis of what was being presented at the time I saw her.
Okay. Would that change your impression, though, that her anxiety and depression were linked to her marital stress if you knew that there was a history of that?
Ask that again.
I'm sorry, if she has a long history of mental health issues, including both of the diagnoses you gave her of anxiety and depression, would that change your impression that the anxiety and depression was the result of the marriage?
Not necessarily.
Okay. Were you aware that she had panic attacks in her past?
I can't recall right at the moment if I knew that or not.
Okay.
I mean, most people have anxiety, and it can come and go based on situational Yeah.
Were you aware that UCLA's impression was there was bipolar disorder?
No, I was,
Um, were you aware in her history of agoraphobia?
no,
Um, were you aware of her family history of mental health issues?
yes,
Okay. So you were aware, of what was your understanding of her mom's mental health?
I'd have to revisit my notes. It wasn't a big focus on our therapy because that's not what we were working on.
Okay. Um, were you aware at UCLA of a borderline personality diagnosis?
I'm
So
gonna
you
objection.
mean-
It assumes facts not in evidence, and there was no such diagnosis.
Okay, that's your, would you? Your Honor, I have a question for you. Exhibit B has the UCLA medical records. It's confidential. I would rather not have those be shared on YouTube.
Sure.
But I think maybe that would be important for Ms. Hughes to see.
I'm objecting to those on the basis they haven't been authenticated. We need to go ahead and have someone from UCLA authenticate those to know if they're even true and accurate. Everyone has had full notice of what needs to happen in order for old records from the other side of the country to be authenticated and entered. To go ahead and allow them to be shown right now on cross-examination without authentication, without a doctor to go ahead and explain them and authenticate what they say would be very prejudicial, and I vehemently object.
I think the bigger issue for me, is she says she doesn't know about it or hasn't seen it. My understanding is she's not currently treating defendant either, so we're not gonna, I don't know that a trial is the time to show someone's records and then have her opine about.
She acknowledges she had no knowledge, and I know
I
what
just said that, okay, thank you, I just said that.
Okay, so so Ms. Hughes, I will ask you,
In other words, if we're
I
taking,
understand.
but for the future, if we're
I'll
talking
bring
about
them
that.
in. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, Your Honor. I'll bring them in at the appropriate time.
But now I mean, we should all be forewarned that that objection will likely occur again.
Fair enough.
The authentication, I mean, that was the only objection. She wasn't even objecting to what I was saying. And until she repeated what I said. So we know that there's going to be an authentication. And if that's, I just think we should be prepared for that. I will certainly make note that that's something we'll have to
Absolutely,
cover.
absolutely.
That's all.
So Ms. Hughes, would you say that you normally do an intake assessment, though, where you ask for the mental health history of someone you are counseling, correct?
yes, she filled out a form.
Okay.
So that would have been where that intake information would be.
Okay, and can you confirm that that information was not on that form?
Which information?
Anything about her history with her hospitalizations for mental health issues, her UCLA stay, her diagnoses through UCLA?
I can confirm that.
Okay. Would that have been important for you to know?
I think it'd be good to know, but I'm not sure I would have changed by diagnosis for what she was coming in and seeking help with those services at that time. I don't think it would have changed. what I was treating her for.
Okay, does that make you question? I know before you said you had no indication that Aishwarya was dishonest with you and not being forthcoming with you. Does that change your opinion of that, to know that these things were never raised with you when it was specific questions on an intake sheet, then it was omitted?
I feel like she was forthright with questions I asked her in our session, and in our interactions. I don't know if everybody puts all their history down on those forms.
Okay. So you stopped seeing Aishwarya in December of 2021. Why?
I think some of that became, I think if I remember correctly, some of that was due to finances.
Okay. Did you, are you aware that she's treating now, that she's seeing a counselor now?
Yes.
Okay. So the last time you saw Miss Nukala was roughly 15, 16 months ago, correct?
Mhm.
Did you ever see Aishwarya with her husband, Andrew Llewellyn?
No.
No. Okay. I have no further questions.
Any redirect, Ms. Whitman?
Very briefly, Ms. Hughes, based upon your treatment of Ms. Aishwarya, did you have any concerns about her ability to parent her children?
No.
I have no further questions.
Final question, Ms. Belvin?
No.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Sorry. If you just give me 1 second, please.
Not a problem.
Okay, so can we agree Ms. Nukala is back on the virtual stand for continued cross?
Please.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Ms. Belden.
Um, oh,
Sorry, that's me. Don't ignore that.
that's okay. Um, um, Aishwarya, can you share that when you and Andrew went to mediation, when you went to mediation with attorney Linda Marsh Rates, did you come out of there with the decision to move to Pasadena?
Yes, I can't remember.
Okay.
I think so. I can't actually remember. We met with her, I think we only met with her once. And I think we just got it all done like within an hour. I don't remember. I remember meeting with her more than once.
Okay. I'm gonna share screen again. Aishwarya, do you recognize this email? Again, it's coming from Andrew Llewellyn at Gmail to Aishwarya Nukala at Gmail, Wednesday, April 27th.
I recognize our emails, so I don't
Okay.
remember.
Okay, and Andrew has an attachment to it.
Yeah.
And he's asking if he can forward that on to Linda Rates. Is that jogging your memory or no?
I mean, not specific, but I can
Does
read.
this, okay, does this look familiar to you though? This was the document that was attached, the elements of divorce settlement.
I mean, that table, I know that table.
And then the child related mediation agreement.
Okay,
Does that look familiar to you?
no, but I guess we did this, so I don't really remember it.
Okay, so I would ask, here's your signature to it. I would ask that pages Exhibit D, Part 1, pages 20, let's see, 26 to 32 be admitted.
May I ask a question?
Not at this moment, I'm sorry, I'm waiting for your attorney to speak up.
Your Honor, or Megan, I'm just concerned, according to MRE 408, settlement discussions are confidential. This appears to be discussion, some of it is between the parties. I don't really
Okay, why don't we move right to the property related mediation agreement that was signed? Are you okay with that?
whatever they signed and then presumably became a court order, I have no issue with that, but
Yeah.
to delve into all of their discussions, I just feel that's inappropriate according to MRE 48 and I do 408 and I do object to that.
Okay, so I will just move to asking for pages 33 and 34 of Exhibit D, page 1 to be admitted.
That is not signed by Mr. Llewellyn, and I don't know if that's a final or not.
Do you Ishwarya, can you comment on that? Do you remember? Do you remember why Andrew did not sign it?
No, I honestly have no idea. I have to be really honest, this period of time that you're showing me all these emails is really blurry for me. There was so many communications going back and forth. And I just remember there was a constant drumbeat of Pasadena. And it's in all these emails, and whether it's like he's saying he wants to go or he doesn't want to go or whatever, it's just constant conversation about Pasadena. We met with people, we met with a therapist named
Okay,
Jennifer.
just one second. I'm not sure we're talking about Pasadena right now.
Oh, I don't remember,
I wanted to pull up what was reached at mediation, just because, you know, it was signed by by Ishwarya regarding child related issues are at play here. And I point out that paragraph 2 has no consideration for Pasadena.
Yeah, and Andrew wouldn't sign it, so.
I object. This is not a final settlement. This is a document that was involved in the creation of the final settlement. This is my objection to 408. If it had been a final settlement, he would have signed it and it would be a fully executed document. It's not a fully executed document. That indicates to me that it was a negotiation ongoing, which is a settlement discussion pursuant to MRE.
Okay. I'm trying to jog Ishwarya's memory, that at mediation in end of April, there was not a decision to move to Pasadena at that time.
Why don't you just ask her that?
Yeah, can I ask you that then? Can you
I can speak to the timeline about the decision to move.
well, I just wanted to ask you specifically, end of April 2022, had a decision been made to move to Pasadena?
We did not no, because we didn't tell our children till May 1st, and that
Okay.
became the deciding factor.
Okay. And how did that become the deciding factor?
Our children were distraught when we told them that we were getting a divorce on May 1, 2022. The younger Birdie did not know what was going on, but our 2 older children were incredibly upset, and they cried a lot. It took it was 1 or 2 weeks of just I would say major turmoil for them emotionally. And I was really trying to be supportive of them at that time, of trying to assure them, because they were like, oh, we have friends whose parents are divorced and they never even speak to each other. And do I have to go back and forth all the time? And there was just so much turmoil around, you know, about how this was going to be. And it was like, are we going to have Christmas together anymore? Are we going to have holidays? What about birthdays? Because they had friends whose parents were divorced, and it was hard. And so, you know, I really spent a couple weeks trying to reassure them that even though we were getting a divorce, we were still a family. And I wanted to honor what they wanted. And they had input into what their future would look like, especially for Josephine, because she was like enrolled at Cranbrook. And it was suddenly like, it was all up in the air. And I really was trying to be supportive of them at that time.
Victoria, did Josephine want to attend Cranbrook?
She attended a visiting day at Cranbrook and she had an amazing day. And she came out of it and she was like, that day that I just had at Cranbrook with the teachers and the community and the kids she met, and she toured the dorms and stuff. She was like, that was a 9 out of 10 day. And I haven't had a 9 out of 10 day in a long time. And she's like, I really, really liked it. And
Did she make it clear to you she wanted to attend? She liked the school. Did she say
when I had visited with her in January and she did the standardized test, which she did of her, she did, and she wrote an essay and everything, she told me that she wanted to go and that she liked the school and that, but is that hearsay? I mean, I didn't force her to take a test. I didn't force her to write an essay. I didn't force her to go to the visiting day.
Did she ever tell you she didn't want to go to Cranbrook?
After Andrew told her that she said, I don't know how it would go with daddy. And that's hearsay,
Mhm.
but it's true.
So
And
at
then
that
I
point,
felt that Andrew was
Aishwarya, at some point she told you she didn't want to go to Cranbrook.
after Andrew made it clear to her
Okay,
and to
but I'm just asking you the specific question. Did Josephine tell you at any point in time she did not want to go to Cranbrook?
I never heard Josephine say, I don't want to go to Cranbrook after the fact.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I'm sorry. I'm going to keep moving it along then. I'm going to do share screen.
Okay.
Aishwarya, do you recognize this letter from Andrew to you dated April 28th?
Yes.
Okay. And it goes here. It goes on to it's a long one. See, it's pages 37 to 39, Exhibit D, Part 1. I would ask that it be admitted.
I have no objection.
Thank you. Admitted.
What is that admitted as?
Well,
Exhibit D, Part 1, pages 37 through 39.
Yes. So Aishwarya, you recognize this letter. I wanted to direct you to this paragraph that starts in your email on Tuesday.
Okay.
Can you read that to us?
I wrote to him, our relationship is not in a place where we can make decisions together about the future for our children. I completely agree. That's Andrew. And then Andrew responds, I completely agree. That is why I'm not advocating for any major changes regarding our children's life, moving boarding school for the present and near term, 2 to 3 months. I feel the best course of action for you and me is to file our divorce, me to move out, let the conflict diminish, get our bearings and move into the next phase of our life as people and parents. And then hopefully we can begin to make decisions together as parents like we always have. So Andrew's actions do not match those words, which is demonstrable.
Okay. But again, in this, is he pushing a move to Pasadena?
Not in this email.
Okay.
Not in that paragraph. I purchased a family, he talks about Pasadena later in that email.
Okay.
Your Honor, I'm just going to stop away for literally 4 feet away to grab a Post-it note, if that's okay. Okay.
That's fine. I'm gonna hit share screen. Ashwari, I have an email updated May 3rd. Again, do you recognize this email? Do you recognize Andrew Llewellyn's email address, and he's sending it to your email address?
Yes.
Okay,
May 3rd, after we told our kids about the divorce.
okay. I would ask that this, let's see. Do you recognize this? An
Yes,
email to Margaret.
Yep, I wrote to a school in Pasadena
Okay,
about Josephine applying. That was a school that I had always really liked when we lived there. And my
okay,
friend Molly is a teacher there.
okay. What is Molly's last name?
Your tech? I think she's on Andrew's witness list.
Okay. So I would, then you see emails that Andrew sent out, correct?
Correct.
So I'm gonna ask, Your Honor, that pages, Exhibit D, Part 1, pages 57 to the bottom here. 68 be admitted.
Your Honor, I need a minute to review these.
Sure.
Bill, what number? I'm sorry, Megan, what was the
That's
five?
right. Exhibit D, Part 1, pages 57 through 68.
68. Okay.
Yes.
No objection.
Okay.
Admitted.
Thank you. Ashwarya, so you recognize this email. Can you just read that first sentence on this email? It's from Andrew to you.
Yes, I'm going to write to the 3 schools in Pasadena you asked me to contact. In the emails,
Okay.
I want to mention some of Josephine's friends who will be attending the schools. Can you confirm their last names?
Okay, so in this email, Andrew's saying you asked him to contact those 3 schools. Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
Okay, okay. So the 2 of you were in agreement with contacting these schools.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. In Pasadena, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you'll see as we go further, you're providing names, and then you said, can
We
you,
as a family are considering
can you
California.
please, oh, can you please write that she got into Cranbrook boarding school, but we as a family are considering California instead. Everyone knows Cranbrook.
Yeah.
Okay,
I would like to note that I said, but we as a family are considering California, which
Yeah.
was 100% the intention behind the move. And that is further reflected by Andrew adding my name to his lease because he knew that I could not afford the move immediately.
Okay. And then you said, he confirmed to let him know about that they got into Cranbrook, and then you said, just send it with me as a CC, correct?
Yep.
Okay. And then as we scroll down, looks like you initiated an email to Margaret at
Yep.
Westridge. Who is Molly, or who is Margaret?
I think she was in the admissions office at Westridge.
Okay, so you initiated this email and it looks like it was for Josephine to apply.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Can you, I see as you go, Josephine attended High Point Academy from 2015, second grade through 2020, sixth grade, where she was a top student.
Yeah, so proud of her.
Unfortunately, the school in our town, it says in July of 2020, during the pandemic, we relocated from Pasadena to a town in northern Michigan where we had vacationed as a family. Unfortunately, the school in our town has not met the standards of us as parents or Josephine as a student.
Correct. After, during COVID time and virtual school and the subsequent year, the school was not adept at being enough for Josephine. And that's why I advocated for her to apply and register at Cranbrook, which is one of the best schools in the country. And she got in, and Andrew facilitated that application. And I would say both Andrew and I were super proud of her when she got in. It's an extremely selective school. And she, she did that. She's amazing.
And then I'm gonna say down here, I see it, if we go on, it says, we decided that sending her to Cranbrook was not the right decision. We are now considering options in Pasadena, where she lived much of her life and thrived as a student.
So, I did write that, and I just want to be clear that, I agreed to all of this. Absolutely.
Okay, good. Okay, good. That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted to know.
It was really as I write to other teachers, other people, and Andrew and I communicate together, we really intended for this to be a family experience, and we were going to try and figure out all the financial stuff. And it's really just a snapshot in time of this little week. These emails are so far between April 26th and May 3rd. And we told our children about the divorce on May 1st. So this is like a tiny snapshot where, we're trying to figure out what to do as a family, given our children's reaction to the divorce news. And I really wanted, because of their reaction, and I write this repeatedly in these emails, we can read them, that I just really wanted to preserve the family experience for our children. I sent all of my furniture and all of my Christmas ornaments to Andrew's house in Pasadena. That my sofa, I have furniture that's still there. That, I had every intention of trying to make this work as a family. This is a snapshot in time during a really high stress and painful time for the family because of the children's experience hearing about their parents' divorce. And
Shwaria, so you said that when you told the kids on May 1st, that's when you decided that Pasadena was what you wanted to pursue, correct?
I would just say that I can't remember exactly. Obviously, this is 2 days after I told my kids that we were getting a divorce after us all being a family together at this point for 15 years. And it was very traumatic. I agreed to make this change for our family. And truly, the wheels came off the bus. And there was a change in circumstance that the court recognized. And the court set aside the consent judgment of divorce on November 17th. Because
I'm not going to get into that right now. I'm just trying to find the timeline, Ashwarya.
I think we have the time. Yes, I don't mean to.
As of May 3rd, when you're sending these emails out, you're thinking it's in the best interest of your children to relocate to Pasadena, correct?
As a family, I thought that we could navigate that kind of a move. But you know, again, we were,
As a divorced family, correct? You weren't stopping the divorce. Okay.
no, as a divorced family, it was naive. And also it totally was me putting on my blindfold around the realities of the dynamic between me and Andrew. And that dynamic came into play in August when I took the kids there and he was screaming uncontrollably in the car and on the sidewalk when I said this wasn't a good idea. And I wasn't.
But we're moving. We're still in May here, Aishwarya.
I mean, there were a lot of instances like later on when the kids were in Pasadena where the wheels fell off the bus and Andrew's.
Okay, but we're not there. We're not there, Aishwarya. I'm sorry. I'm just kind of going through the timeline. I want to get to that.
Yes, this email is also part of the same timeline, the snapshot of that time. Yeah.
Okay. So, I wanted to clarify something. So Andrew's not from Northern Michigan, correct?
Andrew's family has always had a home in Northern Michigan for multiple generations. They were in Bel Air, which is in Antrim County. And then his parents, his mom and dad, bought a house in Old Mission in 2010. So we would bring our kids initially. My oldest was born in 2007. So we would visit Bel Air, and then we started visiting the home in Traverse City in Old Mission.
Okay, but Andrew did not grow up in Northern Michigan. Home for him is
Andrew grew up in Ann Arbor. Yeah.
Okay. And he never lived in Northern Michigan.
No.
When his parents bought the home on Old Mission Peninsula in 2010, you and Andrew were married, and Andrew never lived in that home.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And you're not from Northern Michigan, correct?
I'm not.
Okay. You're from the East Coast, correct?
Correct. I was born in India, but I was raised on the East Coast.
Okay. So we established yesterday that you signed that consent judgment of divorce on June 17th.
Correct.
Correct. And we also established on that day, yesterday, that it was signed at your office. You set up the date and time. You requested it to be signed on that date and that time, correct? You asked Andrew to sign it together.
Yes.
Okay. Andrew wasn't saying, we need to get this signed right away. No one put pressure on you to sign it that day.
I think that the concept that Andrew was ever going to stand over me and demand a move to Pasadena with my hand tied to a pen is just really that was never the case. I agreed to do all of this, and it was really naive, and it was a complete denial about the reality of our relationship in our marriage. And I was using, I just really wanted to preserve something for our family. And fundamentally, it was real financial folly and financial naivete on both of our parts. Andrew can't afford to live there either.
I'm sorry, I'm going to ask you to just answer these questions right now. No one put pressure on you to sign that document on June 17th.
No one put pressure for me to put my pen on the paper and sign that document. There was later a change of circumstances.
Okay. And you had it from the testimony yesterday. You had this document for at least 2 days before you signed it, correct?
I don't know that I had the document. I think in those text messages, it says that he's bringing them up. I don't know that I ever said that I received them. And I also remember signing only the signature page on the day that I signed it on June 17th. Okay. So maybe he's brought them up. I just have to be clear that I don't remember, but I do remember only signing the signature page on June 17th.
So Aishwarya, we established yesterday that you're a successful businesswoman. You run your own business. You have independent contractors that you pay weekly.
Yes.
You do hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollar renovations and projects for clients.
Yeah. Being educated and successful does not make me immune to an abusive relationship.
But you would enter into contracts as part of your work, correct? In your life, you've entered into contracts?
Those are not personal relationships. Those are not personal relationships that have any kind of abusive elements. Those
Okay,
are
but I'm just asking you to answer the question. Do you sign?
I do, yeah,
You do?
absolutely.
Okay, okay. And do you review them before you sign them?
The only contract that I send out and sign with clients is, I have a design, like a design contract.
Yeah.
And when somebody contacts me about work and they want to sign want me to work through their house, I have a design contract that has been long established for me for like 7 or 8 years. So I have had that same contract. You know, I don't read it every
Have
time.
you
that
had people, but you know the terms of the contract, correct?
In terms of my contract, yes.
Okay. Have you had people tell you that they just signed it and they haven't read it?
I know that people sign it without reading it.
Okay, you know that. You've seen them not read it. You don't give them much time to read it.
I have sent contracts, I've taken contracts to meetings and said, I'll leave this with you because I want you to be able to read it and review it. And people on, at least I can count on my hand, including the giant Leland project that I did, people signed it in front of me without even looking through it because they were so excited to get started.
Okay. But you would hold them to the terms of that contract, even though they chose to not read it, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we established yesterday that you had a significant sum of money that you thought you were going to be able to pay for Cranbrook this year for Josephine, and that's why you were agreeable to paying for the tuition for the kids in Pasadena for Leo and Josephine, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so at the time you signed this in June, you had a decent amount of money at your disposal, correct?
Yeah, I just want to say one more thing.
No, I'm sorry. I'm not gonna have you. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna move it along and you can tell your attorney.
Contracts for my children, for the divorce contract, has child-related matters, which is not comparable to my design business.
Okay, and you can have your attorney go through that with you. I just want to move it along here.
Yes, I had considerable savings in
Okay.
June.
And
Yeah,
so you could have hired an attorney.
yes.
Okay.
I
And
felt
you
again
had
that
previously, Ishwari, I'm sorry, I'd just like you to ask what I'm, answer what I'm asking. You had previously worked with attorney Gary Gardner, correct?
I did.
Okay, and so it's feasible you could have even called him up and said, hey, Andrew and I have an agreement, can we look at this?
It was not, because I did call him and he said that he was not allowed to represent me per the collaborative divorce contract.
Okay,
That he wasn't allowed to represent me outside of a collaborative divorce. So he was not an option. I would have had to find somebody new.
okay, so you did reach out to someone to see if they could look at it with you?
I think that, yeah, I mean, I think that Andrew, actually, the reason I contacted him was because we were after mediation with Linda Retz. We needed to have it filed. And I think Andrew was like, I'll contact Cumulus. And I just ended up writing to Gary and asking if he could do the filing. There's no question that I signed that contract on June 17th. Nobody held my hand down and forced me to sign it. And it was, you know.
And at that time, you thought it was in the best interest of your children?
I thought it was in the best interest of Andrew, and that would be in the best interest of our children, because then we could make some decisions as a family and move on.
As a parent, it's our job to look out for the best interests of our children every day. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Okay. So you would agree that when you signed that on June 17th, you thought that was in the best interests of your children?
I would say that I felt that it's just not that, I don't mean to split hairs, but I just want to be clear that the reason I signed that contract and the reason that I agreed to Pasadena is because, as you can see from all of the evidence that was presented, we were not able to make any decisions. The children were upset, and I wanted to find resolution for everybody. And Andrew repeatedly brought up Pasadena as an option that he wanted. And so finally, I'm not saying, it just it's just, having a peaceful arrangement by placating and capitulating to Andrew's repeated desire to live in California, even though he couldn't afford it and I couldn't afford it, which has been demonstrated repeatedly. That was in the best interest of our children, having peace.
Okay. So when you signed the July 27th stipulation to waive the 6-month statutory period, you signed it on July 27th. Again, you were thinking about your children's best interests when you signed that, and you were in agreement with waiving that 6-month period and getting that consent judgment entered, correct?
I have to say that I signed that 6-month waiver because I wanted peace and release from Andrew. I wanted for
So
him.
you were thinking about yourself, not your children, when you signed that?
I was thinking about peace from Andrew, which directly affects our children. I was totally shocked by the events that unfolded this fall and how Andrew.
Okay, I'm sorry, Ashwarya, I'm gonna just kind of keep us on track here. And then yesterday we established that the court entered an order for temporary custody and support and parenting time that it actually attached the consent judgment of divorce. And that was signed by Judge Kromkowski on September 12th, putting into place the agreement you and Andrew had reached regarding all of the child-related matters and the move to Pasadena, correct?
I'm so sorry. Can you repeat that question?
We already established yesterday, but I'm just having you confirm that you recall that September 12th, 2022 temporary order that the court entered, where they literally attached the consent judgment of divorce and said, we're taking the terms of this consent judgment of divorce as it relates to all child-related matters and turning it into a temporary order.
Yeah, and I was in Pasadena with Andrew, and we were hanging out together and
On September 12th, what were the dates of that Pasadena trip? I think we established yesterday that you were not in Pasadena.
September 8th to September 18th, I was in Pasadena. The friend of the court phone call was on September 6th. I flew to Pasadena on September 8th. On September 11th, which is a Friday, it might have been September 10th, Andrew took the day off of work and we both drove. He drove us to a dispensary. He bought some pre-rolled marijuana joints. We smoked them in a park. And then he drove us to multiple bars where we had a couple of cocktails. He said,
I know we're getting sidetracked here, Ashwarya.
I was okay with the order that was entered on that time because I was in Pasadena.
And you identified that you were in Pasadena September 8th to 18th. This was signed by the judge on September 12th and mailed out on the 15th.
Okay.
So you would have been home in time to receive that.
Yeah, and I went home feeling like, honestly, I'll say I went home from that trip on September 18th after spending multiple days with Andrew. We went to many restaurants and coffee, and he took the day off work, and we smoked pot and drank a bunch of cocktails, and he, hung out with our children and my friends. Josephine said it's nice that you guys are good friends, which is hearsay, but our children were feeling okay, but I was trying to push away the fact that what had happened in August with his anger, and I wanted things to keep working. I was still very committed to trying to make this whole Pasadena project work. I had paid $9,000.
But you had received that and you never timely objected to it, right? You saw that the notice saying you have 21 days.
Correct.
Objection, and you did not.
The month of
Okay.
October.
No, it's a yes or no. You said correct. Okay. You previously testified that you think all your kids are smart and bright and special, which I would hope all parents think that. Do you feel Leland is the best school for all of them?
I feel that Leland is a perfect school for Birdie for kindergarten. And I have expressed directly to Andrew that Josephine, in the winter when she was here, she told me that if she stayed in Michigan, if she returned to Michigan, then she would want me to homeschool her. And I was pretty surprised by that, honestly. I had never heard my daughter say that to me, my teenage daughter say she wanted to be homeschooled by me. And then she said, if not that, then I think she said like maybe she'd want to do like an online program. And I suggested Traverse West. And she was like, it's big. And I was like, well, we would visit it. And I mean, I would say like if Josephine were to hopefully return to Michigan, she would have a robust education at Traverse West. And I talked to Andrew about that. I'm really committed to making decisions for the children that are individually good for each of them. She's going to be driving. She's actually should have her driver's permit right now.
Okay, yep, you talked about that yesterday. So, did you advocate for TC West when you and Andrew were having all of these discussions?
No, because I wanted her to go to Cranbrook because that was the excellent school option for her. That, I mean, I don't know if anybody's been to Cranbrook, but it's pretty spectacular. And I went to a really nice private high school, and I wanted that for my daughter. I went to an elite private prep school in Connecticut from 7th through 12th grade. And I wanted my daughter to have the same experience because she's extremely smart and talented.
Okay.
So,
If she's extremely smart and talented, do you think homeschooling would be the right option for her?
no, and that's why I don't see that as an option. But the problem with Pasadena is it's just so cost prohibitive. Her tuition bill right now is $20,000. It's unpaid, and she has no enrollment for next year for 10th grade. She's like, oh, I'm going to do the sports journalism and media class that you mentioned. And I think to myself, I wish, but like you just can't. We can't afford it. She's thinking.
So I'm sorry. So Ashwari, you said the tuition is cost prohibitive at Cranbrook, and that tuition is, I'm sorry, at LaSalle in Pasadena is cost prohibitive, and that's 20,000.
It's
You're advocating for Cranbrook, which is 40 to 50,000 tuition each year.
Correct. And the difference is that I don't have to get on a plane and travel. I can have my business in Leland, which has been very successful. And so my children can go to really wonderful schools that I could pay for if I didn't have to, if I could maintain and grow my business here. I just signed a business contract, but like, yeah, I mean, in truth.
So
like,
would you
be, yes. Can I just say, I just want to say this. The snapshot of time that we're looking at of when these decisions were made, end of April, beginning of May, I wanted Josephine to go to Cranbrook. I had the cash on hand, the savings from my job in Leland, which was totally decimated by moving to Pasadena and trying to execute the consent judgment of divorce. Decimated. I mean, I showed my table. And at this point, the only option in my mind for our children to reduce stress and maintain peace and find resolution for everybody, which is in the children's best interest, is for each of them to attend a public school. I am not interested in Josephine going to Cranbrook anymore.
Okay.
It's been a long journey of letting it go because I think it's special and I thought she would do well there. But at this point, I want us to have a financially sustainable and like this is a whole thing after you get divorced is learning about how to take care of yourself. And I had to learn how to do that. And for me, when the Cranbrook discussion was going on and what I agreed to on June 17th with the Pasadena move in private schools, that was me prior to being fully versed in what it takes to support myself. And so at this point, I would like for our children to not have pie in the sky ideas about what could be, but have really positive, practical life experiences going to nice public schools. And those options are here and they're not in Pasadena. There's no decent public school option there for them.
Okay, so did you and Andrew, though, really discuss TC West? Why did you not pursue TC West?
As I just said, I was pie in the sky in my head, and I was not versed in what it took to take care of myself as an independent person. I did not request child support or alimony because I didn't want that to be reflected on Andrew's ledger as a debt when he went to get a mortgage. So I said, I don't want that for your future. I want you to be debt-free from this divorce. And so please don't worry about me getting spousal support or child support, which I definitely could have requested. I was a stay-at-home mom from 2007 for the most part. And so, I'm taking care of myself by myself now. As we saw, I pay for all my children's expenses who are here. Tracy, the babysitter, therapy or orthodontia. And it's like, I can't fit Cranbrook in. I can't fit private school in. It's too much money.
So you are going to, your position is that Josephine should be at Traverse City West next year.
I'd
Birdie
like
should,
Josephine to relocate back to Michigan, and she can have her choice of either attending Leland, where she has a lot of friendships, or attending Traverse City West. Andrew gave me a settlement proposal in February. We met in Los Angeles this past few months, and he suggested that Josephine and Leo could go to Traverse City West, and he would live in Traverse City. So
okay, and you didn't take that, I assume.
I did not take that because he also requested that Birdie go to the Children's House, which is a private school in Traverse City. And I did not want to sign up for any kind of private school for kindergarten because she has a good public school option in Leland. And she also has an established nanny situation and a ton of friendships here, and they're all going to Leland.
Did you share that, Aishwarya, did you share that with Andrew when he made that offer in February? Did you say I'm on board with everything? But just the kindergarten issue for Birdie?
The reason that I didn't agree to the thing is because Andrew also said to me that he required, quote unquote, $200,000 in cash as part of an off the books property settlement in order for him to move back to Michigan. I left the coffee shop. I informed my attorney who just coined the term cash for kids. And so I decided that I was not able to negotiate with Andrew in good faith anymore. He wanted to barter the children for money, and he did it repeatedly this fall. And he, even to this day, just doesn't see that child custody is separate from property, as is evidenced by his motion to enforce contract, and which is basically saying I'm in breach of contract and lumping child-related agreement.
Okay, Aishwarya, you brought up the money issue as part of this whole settlement agreement. So you have a home that you purchased, the two of you purchased with Andrew's inheritance for $450,000 in Leelanau County, right?
Yes.
As part of the global picture, Andrew said, you take the house, just pay me $25,000 so I can get across the country and get going with my life. I understand my work is out here. I have more opportunity out here. I think I'm going to be able to be okay if I get out to Pasadena, correct?
He also said no spousal support and no child support. So, he was walking clear and free.
That was in lieu of, but giving you an asset, that was the largest asset that the two of you had, correct? By far.
Andrew's income is a significant asset. He makes $200,000+ a year. And
you shared that your income is pretty significant asset.
My income began in 2021. And so we were married from 2007 until 2021 without me making more than maybe a few $1,000s a year because I was primarily the caregiver for our children. So I would have qualified for spousal support and also child support. And I waived both of those. And he, said, I still paid him for the house. He used that money to
$25,000, correct?
Yes.
That was your payment of a $450,000 asset.
Your Honor, can I take a very quick break?
Not yet.
Not yet?
We're in the middle of something. I mean, we're in the middle of this.
Okay.
I would love to take a break, but I don't know I don't know how quickly we're moving to redirect. So.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, we're in. But unless Ms. Bell, when's the next? We're in the middle of this topic. If you would like.
I wanted to get through this topic and then I'll pause and.
When we switch gears, we'll take a break.
Okay.
I promise.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My bladder is. Sorry.
I'm sorry. So, quickly. You understand that the financials had to be analyzed with respect to the children and the move to Pasadena, and you said I'll waive child support and spousal support because I'm getting $425,000 at minimum. When you said you acknowledged yesterday that a realtor said they could sell that between 500 and 600, and there's no debt owing on it, correct?
That's not correct. I never have heard a realtor say directly to me that the house could sell between $500,000 and $600,000. Andrew had a property. He called a realtor, I think in this past December, even though property has been settled, and he got an estimate from a realtor that he talked to. I spoke to a realtor in October of last year because I was trying to get to Pasadena and I seriously considered trying to fire sale the house. I spoke with a realtor who said, we probably need an appraisal. I said, I need money right now because my son's not doing well. My kids are not doing well in Pasadena in October, and I need to get a rental. I have this lease in front of me that's close to $8,000. I just need some money. And he was like, the easiest way to get money. He's like, a fire sale or any kind of fast dump on the market of this is going to take at least 60 days. You will need a cash buyer. And I have had 3 other houses sitting on the market that have not been touched, that are in better condition. And one has lakefront access. And there's no guarantee you're going to even be able to sell this at $450. And even if you do, it would at least take 30 to 60 days. So I dropped that idea because I needed to get out there because there was a change in circumstances and my kids were suffering. Andrew was gone for like 10 out of 14 nights. I have all this outlined in my motion to change custody, which is why we are here today. It was accepted by the court. And so I also
Ashwarya, who was the realtor that you spoke with?
Greg Milzarek.
And did you ever consider a reverse mortgage?
I'm not over 62 years old. And then also I did, a reverse mortgage is only for senior citizens.
Or a loan, a home equity
Yes.
line?
Yeah, I looked into getting a refinance. And so in my motion for child support that I filed on December 5th, I go through how I tried to maybe access cash from the house because I needed cash on hand. And what I ran into on the IRS website is that our tax returns, which were in Andrew's care, were not filed in 2019 and 2021. Those issues he has since addressed, but in the emergency situation that was unfolding in Pasadena with our children being neglected, my son's mental health in decline, and Andrew subjecting our daughter, our 4-year-old, to his anger, I needed to get out there and I couldn't do it because I didn't have the tax returns. So ultimately what I ended up doing was selling a design project and renting my property. So I did use the house for money. I just used it as a rental.
What do you rent the property for right now?
I rented the property to clients for storage. And I also allowed my carpenters to use it for cabinetry building, but they do not pay for any rent, like they don't pay for a wood shop.
Okay. So what do you pay for? What do you receive in terms of rent?
I did a single payment that I added to that $12,000. That was in that $12,000 check that I received, and it's deposited in a bank account statement that you guys have. It was deposited.
What was that amount, Ashwarya?
I think it was $12,500 and something dollars, maybe $524.
For the rent, just for renting or for storage?
It's for a design project fee.
I'm asking what the storage fee was.
Oh, sorry. The storage rent, I think, was like $2,000 for the winter.
Okay.
I mean, a boat storage usually typically runs for $500 for a winter. So this was a very, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we have sent there that's being stored.
Okay. Okay, I think that's a good spot to take a break.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.